Chosen one, let me ask you to do something right now. Take one breath, a real one, and while you do, notice what your body is holding. Because something in you, beneath the level of words, has been quietly preparing for exactly this moment. You have been in a season that looked like stillness. On the surface, waiting, silence, the same patterns, the same prayers with no visible answer. But here is what I need you to understand before I say another word. Stillness on the surface is not stillness underneath. A seed looks like it is doing nothing in the ground. From above, nothing. But from the inside, everything. The root system expanding, the structure forming, the strength accumulating for a rise that, when it finally comes, will look to everyone around you like it happened overnight. That is what has been happening to you. Underground, unseen, unhurried, but never, not for a single moment, unforgotten. And now, the direction is changing. There is a word that appears at the most pivotal moments of every great story. The word is suddenly. Not gradually, not eventually. Suddenly the walls came down. Suddenly the door opened. Suddenly the one who had been overlooked was called forward by name. You are standing at the edge of your suddenly. Stay with me through this entire message, because what I am about to share is not a general encouragement. By the time we are done today, you will understand exactly what is happening around you right now and why it is not coincidence. You will know what is waking up inside you and why it has been waking up specifically in this season. You will understand a truth about who you are that changes the way you read your entire past. And there is one more thing, something connected to science and to your God-given design that I believe will shift something in you permanently. These are not small things. Stay, because what I am about to share will help you understand not just what is coming, but what has already, quietly, irrevocably, begun. Let me start with what is happening on the outside of your life, and I want you to listen to this carefully, because what I am going to describe may sound ordinary at first, but it is not ordinary. It is the first sign. Look at the people around you, not the ones from years ago. Look at who is actually still in your life right now, and who has quietly drifted out of it. Because something has been happening in your relational world that most people dismiss as coincidence or bad luck or just the natural way things go. But I want to offer you a different way to understand it. When a season is ending, the people who belong to the old season begin to loosen, not always dramatically. Sometimes they simply stop calling. Sometimes the conversations feel different, a little hollow, a little like you are speaking from two different rooms in the same house. Sometimes a friendship that once felt essential starts to feel like something you have outgrown, not because either person did anything wrong, but because the person you are becoming no longer fits inside the space that relationship was built in. This is not loss. I need you to hear that clearly. This is not loss. This is release. And release is what happens when something is preparing to rise. Think about the people you have tried to explain yourself to recently and how that has gone. Not the practical things, not logistics, but the deeper parts, the vision, the sense of calling, the feeling that something significant is waiting for you on the other side of this season. Have you noticed how hard it is to explain that to some people? How the words land flat or get met with concern or practical suggestions that miss the point entirely? That is not a failure of communication. That is a sign that what is growing in you has become too large for the container of some relationships that once held it just fine. And at the same time, something else is happening. New connections are appearing, some from directions you would not have predicted. A person you have not spoken to in years reaches out. A conversation with someone unfamiliar goes unexpectedly deep. You feel seen by people you just met in a way you have not felt seen by people you have known for years. This is not random. The right connections do not arrive before you are ready for them. They arrive when the season changes, because the season change is what makes you visible to the people who were always meant to find you. There are other signs too, in your circumstances. Doors that you have been pushing on for a long time have been closing with unusual speed. Not slowly, not gradually, but suddenly, finally, definitively. And some part of you is not even as devastated as you expected to be. There is a quiet recognition underneath the disappointment, a feeling that somehow this is correct, that the closing was not a failure but a redirection. Pay attention to that recognition. It knows something your mind is still catching up to. And then there are the moments of unusual clarity. The moments where you know, with a certainty that does not come from logic, exactly what you want, even if you cannot see how to get there yet. These are not random flickers. These are navigational signals. Your system is recalibrating to something larger. These are not coincidences. These are the logistics of a season change. But the outside world shifting is only the first thing, because what is happening around you is just the mirror of something far more significant happening inside you. And that, chosen one, is what I need you to stay for. Because right now, in this exact season, something is waking up inside you that has been quietly sleeping. I want to describe it to you, and I want you to tell me if this is familiar. There is a kind of stillness that has been settling into you lately. Not the stillness of defeat, not the stillness of someone who has stopped caring, a different kind. A calm that arrives in the middle of circumstances that should be producing anxiety, a peace that you cannot fully explain, and that frankly does not seem like it should be there, given everything you are still waiting on. Have you felt that? And alongside that stillness, there is a lowering tolerance. Things that used to pull you in, conversations that used to feel important, spaces that used to feel like home, they feel thin now. Not boring exactly, just thin, like there is not enough there to hold you anymore. This is not cynicism. This is discernment sharpening. When a person is being prepared for a larger assignment, smaller things naturally begin to feel smaller. Not because they are worse, but because your capacity has expanded beyond them. There is something else. Your sense of purpose. I do not mean you have suddenly figured out a career plan. I mean something deeper and harder to articulate. A knowing at the level of the gut, not the head, that you are here for something specific, that your life is not a series of random events, that there is a thread running through everything you have experienced, every hard thing, every setback, every moment of being overlooked, and that thread is leading somewhere. You have felt that, have you not? That quiet, persistent, sometimes infuriating sense that this is not all there is. That sense is not delusion. It is not wishful thinking. It is the most reliable signal your spirit has been sending you for years. And here is what the hard season has been building in you, the things that could not have been built any other way. The first is endurance that cannot be faked. Not the kind you read about, not the kind you decide to have, the kind that only forms when you have gone through something that you were not sure you would get through, and you got through it anyway. You carry that now. It is in you. And it is exactly what is required for the weight of what is coming. The second is identity that does not depend on applause. You have spent seasons where no one was watching, where no one was celebrating, where you were faithful in spaces that no one ever acknowledged. That is not a wasted period. That is the formation of a self that knows who it is when the spotlight is absent. And a person who knows who they are in the dark is a person who cannot be destabilized by the crowd. The third is a capacity that has been enlarged by the pressure. You were not always able to hold what you can hold now. The weight that you have carried, the complexity, the uncertainty, the holding of multiple realities at once, that has expanded something in you. A container that has been stretched does not return to its original size. You are larger than you were, and what is coming will need the size you have become. There is a man named Joseph whose story captures this with perfect precision. He went into the pit not because he had failed, but because he was being positioned. He spent years in circumstances that made no sense from the outside, that looked like abandonment, that felt like the promise had been revoked. And the entire time, something was being built in him that could not have been built anywhere else, not in comfort, not in the palace, only in the waiting, only in the dark, only in the place where there was nothing to rely on but the knowing that the promise was still true. The pit did not just hold him. It prepared him for a weight of purpose that he would have crumbled under had he arrived sooner. You have been in your pit, and the pit is not the end of your story. It is the final chapter of your formation, which brings me to something I want to share with you, because what is happening to you right now, the sharpening discernment, the rising clarity, the growing sense of something activating, has a name, and the name of it is connected to something that scientists have been studying for decades. And what they have found, I believe, is one of the most important things a chosen one in this season needs to understand. There is a frequency in the human brain called gamma. Scientists studying the brain activity of highly intuitive people, creative geniuses, and individuals in what psychologists call flow state, the experience of everything clicking, of thinking becoming effortless, of being exactly who you are supposed to be, in exactly the moment you are supposed to be there. They all found the same signature: elevated gamma wave activity. Gamma is not a mystical concept, though I believe it is a God-given one. It is a measurable, documented pattern in the brain that is associated with heightened intuition, sudden insight, the ability to see connections that others miss, and what neuroscientists call eureka moments. The moments where something you could not figure out for weeks suddenly becomes obvious. The moments where you know something before you can explain how you know it. The moments where the right decision presents itself with perfect clarity. You have had those moments. I believe you are having more of them lately. And here is what the research reveals that stopped me completely when I first understood it. Children have gamma in abundance. If you watch a child under the age of 7, you are watching someone whose brain is running at a frequency that most adults have almost completely lost access to. Learning is effortless for them. Creativity flows without effort. They follow intuition without second-guessing it. They live in what adults call luck and dismiss as childlike naivety, but which is actually their brain operating the way it was designed to operate. Then something happens. The researchers call it the decline effect. It begins around age 7 and accelerates through adolescence and into adulthood, and it is not entirely natural. It is driven, in part, by the systems that surround us. The educational model that rewards compliance over curiosity, the social structures that treat intuition as unreliable and conformity as wisdom, the media environment that keeps the brain in a state of low-grade reactivity. Decade by decade, the gamma frequency that was your birthright, that was literally wired into you by the God who made you, gets dimmer and quieter. And when gamma goes quiet, something else follows. The synchronicities feel less frequent, the flow states become rare, the intuitive knowing that once came naturally requires enormous effort or stops coming at all. The decisions that should feel clear feel foggy. The sense of being aligned with something larger, the sense that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, becomes a memory rather than a current experience. This is not weakness. This is not spiritual failure. This is biology meeting culture, and a frequency that was meant to guide you being suppressed by a world that benefits in certain ways from you operating at a lower level. But here is what I find remarkable. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying exactly this, drawing on research from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and other institutions, trying to answer one question. Can the gamma frequency be deliberately restored, not through years of practice, not through expensive equipment, but in a way that is accessible, repeatable, and that works for ordinary people in ordinary life? What he developed is a 7-minute audio track. You put on headphones, you sit quietly, you listen. That is all. The technology embedded in the audio, called brain entrainment, works by guiding the brain back toward the gamma frequency through specific sound patterns. And the research behind it suggests that the effect is not gradual. Many people report a noticeable shift from the very first session. The reason I am sharing this is not as an advertisement. I am sharing it because it is directly connected to what I believe is happening to many of you right now. The reactivation you are already experiencing, the sharpening intuition, the rising synchronicities, the sense of something turning on that was off. That is gamma coming back online. And this tool exists to support exactly that process. The cost to work with a biofeedback therapist to achieve similar results is around $300 per session. The home equipment designed to do this runs close to $7,000. Dr. Lake made a decision to make this accessible, and through a specific arrangement for people who encounter this message, the track is available for $39, not $49, which is the standard price. $39, exclusively through the link in the description and pinned comment below this message. I want to be honest with you, because I think honesty here is more important than a sale. This is a tool. It is not a miracle. It will not do the inner work for you. But for those of you who are already in a season of activation, already feeling something turning on, I believe it can support and accelerate what God has already started. One more thing, because this matters. There are imitation audio tracks circulating that use the name without the technology. Regular audio with no actual entrainment embedded, no scientific foundation, nothing that replicates what the research produced. The only way to verify that you are receiving the original, with the full technology, the complete set of 4 bonuses included, and the 100% money-back guarantee, is through the link I have placed in the description and pinned comment. Do not search for this elsewhere. What you will find is not the same. If this resonates, the link is there. It will be there when you are ready. But right now, I need to stay with something even more important, because the science is confirming a truth that is larger than any tool. And this truth, when you understand it fully, will not just change the way you see this season. It will change the way you see your entire story. Because here is the question I want to take into part 2. You have been asking the wrong question. The question is not, when will this happen? The question, the real question, the one that changes everything, is this: do you understand who you are, that this is happening to you? That is where we go next. Chosen one, welcome back. Before I begin this part, I want to say something to the ones who are just joining, and to the ones who have been here since the beginning. What you just heard was not an introduction. That was the first layer of something that is about to go much deeper. Everything I shared about the world rearranging around you, and the frequency waking up inside you, all of it was building toward this, because I made a promise before I left you. I told you that you have been asking the wrong question. Most people in your position, waiting for something that has been delayed, believing for something that has not yet arrived, are asking the same question every day. When? When is this going to happen? When is the door going to open? When is the life I was made for going to begin? And I want you to hear this as clearly as anything I have said today. That question is the wrong question. Not because it does not matter, but because it starts in the wrong place. It starts with the assumption that the timing is the issue, that if you just knew when, everything else would make sense. But timing is not actually what you are carrying. What you are carrying is something far larger and far more significant than a question about when. The real question is who. Who are you that this is the path your life has taken? Who are you that you were held in this particular way for this particular length of time through this particular kind of formation? Who are you that the universe has been arranging and rearranging everything around you and not around someone else? That is the question that changes everything, and I am going to answer it today. Let me start with something I want you to consider honestly. Have you ever wondered why ordinary life has never fully fit you? Not in an arrogant way, not in a way that says you are better than anyone else, but honestly, have you ever sat in a room full of people who seemed completely satisfied with the way things were, and felt something in you pulling toward a door that nobody else seemed to see? Have you ever felt a restlessness that you could not explain, Not because your life was bad, but because something in you kept insisting that it was supposed to be more. Have you ever felt like you were playing a role in someone else's story, waiting for the moment when the real story, your story, the one written specifically for you, would finally begin? If that is you, I need you to understand something that I believe with everything in me. That feeling is not a symptom of dissatisfaction. It is not immaturity. It is not ingratitude. It is a signal. And the signal is telling you something very specific. You were not built for ordinary. Not because ordinary people are less, but because you were assigned something that requires a different kind of formation. And a different kind of formation means a different kind of path. A path that does not look like the paths around you. A path that cannot be measured by the markers everyone else is using. A path that sometimes feels like you are walking in the wrong direction, until the day you arrive somewhere and realize that every step, even the ones that felt like detours, was bringing you here. You have been interpreting the difficulty of your path as evidence that something is wrong with you. I am here to tell you that it is evidence of the exact opposite. The most extraordinary trees do not grow in the easiest soil. The roots that are most permanent are the ones that had to go deeper because the surface offered nothing to hold on to. You have been growing deeper. And what grows deep, when it finally rises, does not move with the wind. Now I want to name something about you, not in a general way, in a specific way. Because there are identities that belong to you, that are not something you need to earn or become. They are things you already are, that you may not have had language for yet. The first thing I want to name is this. You are a seer. That means that you have always perceived things before others did. Patterns in situations. Intentions behind words. The direction something is heading before anyone else has noticed it is moving. You have always had this. And for most of your life, it has felt more like a burden than a gift, because seeing things clearly in a world that prefers comfortable blindness is an isolating experience. People have not always known what to do with your clarity. Some have been threatened by it. Some have dismissed it. And over time, you may have learned to quiet it, to soften it, to hold your observations to yourself, to keep the peace. That season of quieting is over. What you see matters. How you see matters. The world that is coming needs people who can perceive truth clearly and hold it with enough compassion not to weaponize it. That is not everyone. That is you. The second thing I want to name is this. You are a cycle breaker. Something in the story that came before you ends with you. Patterns of pain that have moved through your family, your community, the systems you were raised in, the loops of lack and broken trust and repeated wounding, they are not continuing past you. Not because you are perfect, but because you chose, at some point, not to pass them forward. You chose something different, even when different was harder, even when no one around you understood why you would not just do what everyone else was doing. That choosing is not small. That is one of the most significant things a human being can do. You are rewriting a story that started long before you arrived in it. And the people who come after you will live in the freedom you are creating right now, even if they never know your name. The third thing I want to name is this. You are a light bearer. There is a frequency you carry that changes rooms, not because you perform it, not because you try, but because when you are fully present, something shifts in the people around you. They feel safer, they feel more honest, they feel more like themselves. You may have noticed this without ever having a word for it. People tell you things they have not told anyone else. Difficult conversations seem to go differently when you are in them. There is a calming, a clarifying, a quality of presence in you that is not manufactured and cannot be taught. It is yours. And it is needed in every room that is still in the dark. The fourth thing I want to name is this. You are a spiritual warrior. Look at your life. Look at what you have been through, what has been said about you, what has been taken from you, what should have stopped you and did not. You are still here. After seasons of silence when anyone would have given up, after disappointments that were personal enough to wound something deep, after carrying things alone that were never meant to be carried alone. After all of it, you are still here, still believing, still reaching, still trusting in something that you cannot always see or feel. Do not dismiss that. That is not stubbornness, that is warfare. And you are winning. The fifth thing I want to name is this: you are a voice. There is something in you that needs to be said. A truth, a perspective, a particular way of seeing and speaking about the human experience that only you can offer in the way that only you can offer it. You have sensed this. There have been moments where you have thought something or felt something and known, just known, that it needed to be expressed, that it was not just for you, that the thing forming in you was meant to pass through you to someone else. The delay has not erased that. It has refined it. Everything you have walked through has given you a depth and an authority and a specificity that what you carry could not have had any other way. The world does not need more noise. It needs your particular voice, shaped by your particular story, carrying your particular truth, and that voice is almost ready. Now let me bring this to the place where I want to leave you today, because what I have shared needs to land somewhere practical, because revelation that does not become a way of moving through the world is just an emotion that fades. So, I want to speak to something directly. There is a part of you that is listening to all of this, feeling the resonance of it, maybe even feeling the weight of recognition as I named those identities. And at the same time, there is another part, a quieter part, a part that is waiting for the other shoe to drop, that has heard good things before and learned to brace for the disappointment, that is a little afraid to fully receive what I have been saying because hope has been expensive for you, and you are not sure you can afford another round of it. I want to speak to that part with great tenderness. That pattern formed in you for a reason. It is not weakness, it is protection. It developed because you are someone who has believed for a long time, and believing is a vulnerable act, and you have been wounded in that vulnerability more than once. So a part of you learned to hedge. Learn to stay just slightly at a distance from the full weight of the promise, so that if it did not come, the fall would be shorter. I understand that. I am not asking you to pretend it is not there, but here is what I am asking, just for today, just for the hours after this message ends. Suspend the need for evidence, not forever, not naively. Just today, because what is being built on your behalf does not need your belief to continue, but it does need you to stop standing in its way. Here is a practice I want to offer you. You can do this right where you are, right now, without moving, without needing anything. Close your attention inward, not your eyes necessarily, just your attention. Bring it down from your head into your chest, and in your chest, in that space where you have been carrying the weight of the waiting, I want you to imagine the very faintest light. Not a dramatic light, the kind that comes through a curtain just before sunrise, barely there, just the beginning. That light is the season that is already moving toward you. It has been on its way the entire night. You just could not see it yet, but it is coming. And the reason I know it is coming is not because I have a word of prophecy about your specific circumstances. It is because I understand what your story has been building. And what it has been building is a person who is ready. And when a person is ready, the season does not delay indefinitely. It arrives. Let that light be there. You do not need to force it brighter. Just let it be. Now there are 3 things I want you to carry from today, 3 anchors for the days ahead. The first is this: speak who you are, not as a wish, not as something you are hoping to become, as a present tense truth. When you are alone, in your car, in your quiet moments, say it simply. I am a seer. I am a cycle breaker. I am a light bearer. I am a spiritual warrior. I am a voice, not because repeating words creates magic, but because language shapes the lens we look through. And you have been speaking about yourself from a lens of delay for too long. It is time to speak from a lens of identity. The second is this. When a new door opens in the days ahead, the question you ask is not, is this good? The question is this mine? There is a difference between an opportunity and a distraction. Both can look equally appealing from the outside, but one of them resonates somewhere deeper, and the other just looks good. Practice sitting with that difference. Practice trusting the quiet signal that knows before your mind has caught up. The third is this. Begin each morning with one sentence, not a list, not a vision board. One sentence that grounds you in who you are and what season you are in. Something as simple as, today I move as someone whose season has changed, and then move accordingly. Not perfectly, not with certainty about the outcome, just in alignment with who you have declared yourself to be. These are not complicated, but they are powerful when practiced by someone who understands what I have shared today. And you now understand it. And now I want to bring us to the close of this message, and I want to do it with the weight and the intention that I believe this moment deserves. Chosen one, before I speak a blessing over you, I want to acknowledge something. You came to this message carrying something. Some of you came with exhaustion, the specific kind that comes from staying faithful in a season that has gone on longer than you expected. Some of you came with a kind of quiet grief, mourning the version of your life you thought would have arrived by now, and the slower, harder, less visible version that has been your actual experience. Some of you came with a hope that you are almost ashamed of because you have protected it for so long and not known what to do with it. None of that was wasted. Not a single day of the waiting. Not a single night of the uncertainty. Not a single prayer that felt like it hit the ceiling and came back down unanswered. Every single piece of it was being woven into something, into you, into the depth and the endurance and the specific, hard-won wisdom that you now carry and that the world needs from you specifically. You were not forgotten in the silence. You were being formed in it, and now I want to speak something over you. Receive this not as words, but as what they are intended to be, a release, a confirmation, a blessing spoken over a chosen one at the threshold of their season. Over your clarity, I speak this. May the path that has been obscured become visible to you step by step, not all at once, but enough. Enough to move, enough to trust, enough to take the next step with confidence that the one after it will appear when you need it. Over your relationships, I speak this. May the connections that are meant for this next season find their way to you, and may they arrive with the ease and the rightness that tells you this is different. And may the ones that belong to the season that is ending release gracefully, with peace on both sides, and no bitterness in the leaving. Over your provision, I speak this. May the resources required for what you are being called to arrive from directions you did not predict and could not have manufactured. Because the God who assigns a purpose does not assign it without the provision to fulfill it. What you need is already on its way. Over your mind, I speak this. May the gamma, the clarity, the flow, the original God-given operating system that was wired into you before the world got to work on it, return. May the seer's perception sharpen. May the flow states come more frequently. May the intuitive knowing that has been flickering become a steady light. You were made to think clearly and see deeply and move through life with a kind of grace that others will not be able to explain. That was always yours. It is coming back to you, and over your identity I speak this. May you never again, after today, mistake the waiting for abandonment. May you never again read the silence as absence. May the seed metaphor I gave you at the beginning of this message stay with you, not just as an idea, but as a lived knowing. The seed does not know the day it breaks ground, but the day always comes. And when it comes, the rising is unmistakable. You are a chosen one. You have always been. And the ground, chosen one, is breaking. Go. The message you needed, you received today. The next step is yours. And for those of you who felt something stir when I spoke about the gamma frequency and the 7-minute practice that supports its restoration, the link is in the description and pinned comment. It is there when you are ready. There is no rush. But if today has been the kind of day where something shifted, you may find that the timing is right. You are not waiting anymore. Go.